Hey guys, welcome back to 2017 Summer of Knives. Alright, so if you've been watching the channel, you know I'm doing this whole set of videos about the different knives, the different designs, and what they're mostly used for. Again, a lot of this stuff is opinion based, but someone that is from the outdoors and has served 10 years successfully in the United States Marine Corps, I have a large varying skills from all the way to the Middle East, all the way to the Far East. And it gives me a little insight. I am also a knife designer, so if you have a chance, please go up to threeriverblades.com. Check out what we have up there. And a lot of the knife designs that I come up with are my own personal experience that are kind of inputted into the knives. Now, I don't make a machete, and I think ideally, if you're going to make a machete, it's got to be a little bit something extra, because machetes are very cheap and very easily, you can get them anywhere. They're usually made of like a 1075 steel, which is not a very high carbon steel, easily to sharpen but also easily dulled. And I'm not bashing machetes, because I think they have their purpose and they serve their purpose. Now, I don't want you to get confused from a machete to what a machete is versus a large chopping knife. Okay, large chopping knife is probably something that's going to be a little bit thicker. It's mostly used for wood processing. A machete is mostly used for vegetation. If you are somewhere in South America, Southeast Asia, in the jungles of Vietnam, that kind of thing, a machete is an extremely useful tool. It's probably more useful than any large batoning type knives that we have today that you would use somewhere maybe in Canada or the Northeast. Okay, so there's varying designs, different type of knives. Now, the knives that I got up here are my own personal collection, and I have amassed a large amount of knives, so I don't want you to feel uncomfortable if you decide to go with a cold steel or something else. All I ask that is, if you are going to purchase a knife, go up to threeriverblades.com, check out what I got. Maybe I have something that suits your needs. Okay, thank you. Alright, so let's take a look at what we got. And if I get the names incorrect, I apologize, because there's a lot of information to go over, and if you see something you like, there's probably a YouTube video out there. Alright, so this one right here, just want to go over it real quick, is the only one that I have, is a Kukri machete design. Now, Kukris are designed to be big, heavy choppers. This is not, as you can see. It is a very thin blade, and that's exactly what you're going to find is about 1/8 of an inch thick on any type of machete. And the idea is, if you're in the jungles and you're swinging this all day long, you don't want a big, heavy knife. You want something that's lightweight, easy to carry, and that will cut vegetation out of your way. Okay, so this one is made in China. This is not an expensive one. I think I might have paid 20 bucks for it on Bud K. I would not recommend this machete, but again, if you know you like the design and you like the machete type, you know, hey, to each his own. It's probably like $10 now, and you can see made in China, and not everything that's made in China is crap, but I think you have a lot better options. So I'm going to go ahead and give you this one. This one they call it like a cane machete, and all it is, and this is, I think, made by Cold Steel. This is a cane machete, and ideally, sugar cane is tough, but it's not, you know, it's not something you couldn't chop through. And if you were working in the field, and like most machetes, they're basically made as farm implements, okay, some type of tool. And it comes out of the box. It's not very sharp. It has this big PVC or plastic handle on it. And if you're going to chop open coconuts or sugar cane, this is probably the machete that you would purchase. I know that you can get them probably locally at a lot better quality, but Cold Steel stamps them out for relatively cheap, and you're probably not going to spend a lot of money on it. I don't know if it comes with the sheath. Some of them do, some of them do not, but I highly recommend that if you are going to get a machete, make sure that you get the sheath. And I know a lot of people say, well, you know, it's not that big of a deal, because, and it's true, if you are somebody that is in the jungle a lot, you are walking with your machete, and then when you're done with it, you just put it at your campsite. It's not something you would normally carry around on a belt, unless you had other things. Like we as Americans, we carry a lot of crap with us when we go out into the field, because we want our comfort comfort items. And if you are a soldier, you're probably going to be carrying a rifle, a pack, and everything else. So that's why they came up with sheaths for machetes, but they're always very cheaply made, primarily because it doesn't take a lot. It's not really that heavy of a blade that you need a leather sheath for it, and you don't want it to weigh more than a knife. Now this is one of the machetes that I kind of modified, and I took all that bluing off, which might have been a mistake. This is cold steel. I think this is the 2-footer, something like that. I got a 2-foot and a 3-foot. And this is primarily something that you're going to see online. I can say that 1075 steel is soft. Okay, it's not that sharp when it comes out of the box. And if you hit a rock or you hit a large stick, maybe something that's petrified, you're going to put a dent or you're going to roll the edge. Okay, this is a very, very thin piece of steel made by cold steel. It's not a bad machete if you are going to, like I said, vegetation, but 1075 will rust, which is why it's mostly coated. The sheath itself is very traditional, made in Taiwan, very standard. Now this is the larger one that is not modified. Let's see how big that is. This is the cold steel Latin machete made in South Africa. And this is probably something, again, you're going to see, I don't even know if I could fit it in the frame, but you can see this is over 3 feet long. Cold steel out of the box, it's not sharp. Okay, it's not. Mostly because these things are stamped out, you know, dozens of a time, and they just put a slight edge on there, and if you want to sharpen it, you got to sharpen it itself. I will say traditionally what happens is if you are in South America or Africa or one of those regions, as Americans we tend to use a lot of the sharpness edge here to do a lot of our close work, whereas in indigenous tribes they use it up here. So you're going to see that the sharp edge is mostly up here and the dull edge is up here. So they use this for chopping and then they use this for fine work. And you can do that if you straddle your arm and straddle it underneath. You can use a lot of different tools or techniques to use that. Again, I never used this machete before. I think it's cool. And I think if you were going to clear a large area of vegetation, longer is better, in my opinion. So it's not bad. Again, not very expensive. Now cold steel again, did a little something different here, and I don't know if I can get this on I don't know if I can get it on video, but again, this is they call it a two-handed parang machete. Alright, so you can see a big forward edge, sweeping edge there, and all they did was, if you were buying a regular machete from Cold Steel, they just added this long piece here, and I gotta tell you, it's really not that bad for a two-handed sweeping machete. And I think ideally if you were going to clear a large area with one large sweep, I think this machete would probably be a little better. I think it has a little bit of fantasy on the two-handedness style, but again, these aren't extremely expensive, and this has more of a sweeping edge up front. I tried to profile a little bit to give it a little bit of an edge, and it wasn't too bad. What I did is I just put it on the belt sander and gave it an edge, so it's actually sharp all the way through. I think the sheath did not come with it. You have to purchase it for an extra like $20-$30, whatever it is. But I mean, these type of machetes, again, pretty much just going into the collection, and I have used machetes in the past to clear brush, so it's not a big deal. This, on the other hand, is more of a fantasy, and I will say it's a fantasy. This is the two-handed, oh, I even got spider webs in there, so it shows you how long it's been sitting around. This is this cold steel two-handed katana machete, and you can see it has a guard and it has a very long handle. Now this is definitely a fantasy piece, and I think it's funny that you know, you would make something this long, but if you're looking you know, for a two-handed machete with a guard on it, I don't think you're going to be fighting a lot of things out there. I mean, hey, I don't know, maybe you come up on a mountain lion or something, or some type of cougar in the jungle, and you need something like this. Probably the indigenous tribe would never use this, or what they would do is they would modify it. They would probably round this edge. This right here is typically, you know, an American type of idea on, you know, what the machete can be. Now I should say, and I've said this before, is the cold steel, you see these two rivets right here, you could basically cut this, cut all this length off and make it a one-handed machete, and I've seen people do that on YouTube videos. It is not a full tang steel. It's 1055 and it only has these two rivets, and it probably ends about here. So if you wanted to cut that off and just make it a one-handed, you could. Alright, the sheath itself you have to purchase, I think, separately. It would probably fit most other machetes, and typical on the machete is it usually has some type of belt loop here. This one does not. It comes with a strap, so if you wanted to play Ninja Warrior, you probably could. Alright, so that's your Ninja Warrior. So okay, so enough with the cold steel fantasy stuff. This is kind of cool. I like this one a lot. It's called a grass machete, and this is a little bit thicker than most, and this is ideal because it's light enough to swing. It's about 2 feet long, and it does have multiple layers of grooves, and I'm not a big fan of that. You know, you see it on some Kukri designs. This blade is not that thick. Alright, this is about 5/32, and if I had to guess, it's a stick tang, not exactly a full tang. But the rubber grooves on here, it's made in Taiwan. They call it the grass machete, and it's made by K-Bar. I don't hate this machete. I think this is an ideal size if you needed to go through the jungle, and because of the palm swell, it's very comfortable. It has a rubbery texture. I don't feel it's going to fall or fly out of my hand. And if I did hit a rock or something like that, it's probably not going to roll the edge as bad as some of the other cheaper machetes. The sheath on this is, it's typical of a machete sheath. It does have a belt loop on it, and it does have a strap. But again, this is not overly heavy, which I like. As far as the military, and I think I said this in my other, this happens to be my military USGI machete. Alright? It's made by the Ontario Knife Company, and you could still purchase these. If you are looking for a really good military grade stout machete, this is the one that they issue you. Okay, this is the one they issued if you're like in Okinawa or whatever the case. If you're doing jungle warfare, this is it. It has some type of weird plastic craton. It's not craton, it's plastic, and it's coated and it's camouflaged. I did put a lanyard hole on there, and obviously I had to put my name on it because it would probably wind up disappearing, much like a lot of stuff in the military. So the thing here is that the blade doesn't even start until here. Alright, and the blade edge starts in a Scandi and a little bit of saber at the end, and it does need some edge work, obviously, but I will say that this is a better steel. I don't know if it's 1075 or whatever, but it will hold up to a lot of abuse, and that's why the US military makes them thicker than the average machete. Now on the sheath are crap, so what I had to do is somehow figure a way to make an insert, and this insert is nothing more than MRE box and some duct tape. And if you are in the military, you understand that duct tape can pretty much fix anything. And what I had done is I made this Sheath Frog, I guess you can call it a frog, and it's not awesome, but what you can do is you can essentially tie it in its sheath and it won't run away from you. So is it fast? No, it's not fast, but ideally what I would do is I would stick this on the inside of my pack or on the side of my pack and tie it with different latching points. And you could see here I even sewed on a pocket, so if I needed to latch more latching I could do that as well. And I think it worked good, and I didn't wind up losing it, so I'm very happy that I still have that. So this is more of a traditional piece that I would probably hand down to my son, or anybody that served in the military understands that these are pretty good tanks. Lastly, I'm going to talk about this. This is the Tora Mina, made in Brazil. I did modify this handle, and I did put a finger notch in it, which is not necessary, and I don't recommend it. I don't think I lightened it up all that much, and when I put the notch in here, it basically might have weakened some of this. I don't know, so I would not recommend it. But again, these blades that come out aren't that bad, but you can see, and I'm going to show you, I did use this machete a few times, and you can see that there are notches or pieces of steel missing. Okay, it has a rolled edge, All right, and I'm just talking about hitting wood. I'm not talking about plant or vegetation, which, by the way, Tora Mina is a pretty decent Brazilian made machete. And if you go to Brazil and you go to the jungle, these are the ones that you're going to buy at the local shop for very cheap. You can purchase them online now, which is excellent, and they're different sizes and all that kind of stuff. But this is ideal for me. Like I said, a 2-foot machete is great. You could swing it. It's lightweight. It's not going to kill you. I will say that on a Tora Mina especially, did I say it right? Traumatina. If I said it wrong, again, I apologize. Traumatina. The handle is not exactly fitted to the wood scales, and what will happen is the handle will protrude, and as you can see here, I had to sand it down, because what happens is as you're using this machete, it's sort of like this piece of steel is riding on the inside of your hand and will give you a lot of blisters. It'll cut up your hand, give you a lot of blisters, so try to find one that is either fitted properly, or just get a file and file that crap right off so you don't hurt your hand. Excellent overall machete. This, on the other hand, is a sheath, and I think they upgraded the sheath game, and you can find this on Amazon. It has a lot of different molly attachments. It has a belt attachment. You can attach it to a pack with the D-rings that you see right here. It has pockets for, you know, any type of survival kit. And I really like the fact that they upgraded their game when it comes to machete sheets, because machete sheets have been crap for the longest time. And I don't know anybody really that's going to spend that much money on a Kydex sheet for, you know, you buy a machete for $20, $25, and then you got to buy a sheet that's worth $60. So it's kind of like, why bother, right? So again, the frog in it kind of sucks. It does stick to the knife. So sometimes it will come out. So this is the frog, all right, so, or, you know, and as you can see, it doesn't even go all the way through. It comes out the end, which is not a good thing if you're trying not to stab the bottom of your sheath. There's no way to actually retain it in there. So ideally what I do is I just strap it in here. And again, this is not a good way to secure your machete at all. As you can see, it's not a good deal, but the size works. There just has to be a better way to adjust these straps and possibly make your own. Alright guys, so that is the Summer of Knives machete style, and you can pick up all kinds of great, easy to find machetes in your local hardware store. You can order them online. There are different styles and different types for different reasons. Ideally, most of the machetes that you're purchasing is to clear vegetation out of your campsite. If you're trekking through the woods, if you're in a jungle environment, machetes are an excellent tool. They're invaluable, even more so than an axe, okay? People have been using machetes, indigenous people, for centuries, and they make them themselves. So ideally, if you can pick one up for 25 bucks, put a decent sheath around it, you're good to go. Alright guys, please go to threeriverblades.com, check out all this stuff that I have up there, and stay safe. Thank you.